A Kind Heart on Maple Street. Paul was a young man in his late 20s who lived on Maple Street in the quaint town of Warwick. He had a steady job at a local company, but what truly made Paul special was his kind heart and his willingness to help others, especially the elderly residents on his street. Paul had always admired Mr. Johnson, the oldest person on Maple Street. Mr. Johnson had lived there all his life and had seen the town change in many ways. One chilly winter evening, Paul noticed that Mr. Johnson's lights were off earlier than usual. Concerned, he knocked on the door. Mr. Johnson, looking a bit under the weather, greeted him. "Hello, Mr. Johnson, you don't look well. How are you feeling?" Paul asked. "I've been better, Paul. Just a bit of a cold, I think," Mr. Johnson replied. Paul nodded, understanding. "How about I bring you a bowl of my famous chicken soup? It always makes me feel better." Mr. Johnson smiled weakly, appreciating the offer. "That would be wonderful, thank you." Paul rushed back home, prepared a warm bowl of soup, and brought it to Mr. Johnson. The old man's eyes lit up with gratitude as he sipped the comforting broth. "You're a good lad, Paul, thank you." This wasn't the first time Paul had helped his neighbours. He often ran errands for Mrs. Smith, who struggled with her mobility. He would pick up her groceries and deliver them to her doorstep, always with a cheerful smile and a kind word. One Saturday, Paul noticed Mrs. Thompson struggling with her garden. She had always been proud of her flowers, but age had made it difficult for her to keep up with the work. Paul offered to help, and together they spent the afternoon planting new flowers and tidying up the garden. Mrs. Thompson beamed with happiness, seeing her beloved garden come back to life. The next day, as Paul was walking home from work, he found a handwritten note on his doorstep. It read, "Dear Paul, thank you for always being there for me. You make the world a better place. With gratitude, Mrs. Thompson." Paul felt a warmth in his heart that no job promotion or material possession could ever bring. He realized that the true measure of a person's success is not in their professional achievements, but in the positive difference they make in the lives of others. Grammar. Past perfect simple. The past perfect simple tense is used to talk about actions or events that happened before another action or event in the past. Structure. Positive. Subject plus had plus past participle. I had eaten breakfast before I went to work. She had visited Paris before she moved to London. Negative. Subject plus had plus not plus past participle. I had not eaten breakfast before I went to work. I hadn't eaten breakfast before I went to work. She had not visited Paris before she moved to London. She hadn't visited Paris before she moved to London. Question. Had plus subject plus past participle. Had you eaten breakfast before you went to work? Had she visited Paris before she moved to London? When to use. One of the uses of past perfect simple is to describe sequence of events to show that one action happened before another in the past. When we arrived, the movie had already started. She had finished her homework before dinner. Listen and repeat. Paul noticed that Mr. Johnson's lights were off earlier than usual. Paul noticed that Mr. Johnson's lights were off earlier than usual. How about I bring you a bowl of my famous chicken soup? How about I bring you a bowl of my famous chicken soup? He often ran errands for Mrs. Smith, who struggled with her mobility. He often ran errands for Mrs. Smith, who struggled with her mobility. Together they spent the afternoon planting new flowers and tidying up the garden. Together they spent the afternoon planting new flowers and tidying up the garden. His small acts of kindness made a significant impact on their lives. His small acts of kindness made a significant impact on their lives. Your kindness does not go unnoticed. You make the world a better place. Your kindness does not go unnoticed. You make the world a better place. The true measure of a person's success is in the positive difference they make in the lives of others. The true measure of a person's success is in the positive difference they make in the lives of others.
And that's all for today. I hope you liked this lesson. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you in the next video.